This is Let's Talk Teens, a parenting podcast sharing tips on raising amazing teenagers. We are both certified life coaches that have worked with teenagers as coaches, mentors, and teachers. We are sharing what we have found to work best when dealing with teens and tough issues. This is Abbi and Cheree, Let's Talk Teens, episode 47, How to Help Your Teen Through Disappointment.
Oh, Abby, can't we all relate to this as just being human? There's just times in our life where how we envisioned our life to be going isn't going that way, right? We thought our life would look differently than it does. Or we thought something would happen and then it didn't. And we're so disappointed in the outcome or where we're at. And I think this happens a lot with teens. And as an adult, as a parent, we're like, oh, it's going to be fine because we've already gone through that and we're a little more seasoned in life and we know that, disappointments happen and then we move through them. But I think we need to kind of put ourselves in their shoes sometimes as parents because we still have those times in our life, experiences where we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And it feels so disappointing to us as adults. And then we look back at our teens and we're like, oh, that's not a big deal. But we need to be like, yeah, it actually is a big deal to them. And how can I help them navigate this? How can I help them through this disappointment and help them in a way that will be beneficial and helpful to them, but also help them move forward. So let's talk about a few things that can do that. I think the first one I thought of, I think is so important, is actually to take time to grieve that disappointment. We grieve our losses, like things we lose, like when someone dies, right? We're for sure that's like we've given ourselves permission to grieve that loss. But do we really let ourselves grieve the loss of, you know, a relationship or a job or um, a scholarship or a school or a opportunity that we for sure wanted or a team we wanted to be a part of that we didn't make? I mean, do we give ourselves the opportunity to like just grieve that loss of what we wanted and what we thought would be? And I think that grief is so important. It's just saying, you know what, I feel sad about this loss. This is disappointing. And I talk a lot about emotions and how important it is to allow them and embrace them. And I think this is one of those areas where it really is important to take some time at first to embrace those emotions and allow your team to embrace those emotions of whatever they're feeling, whether it's disappointment, grief, sorrow, sadness, frustration, all of them make sense.
Mm. I was just thinking about how when your child's in like elementary school kind of age, before those preteen years, when they don't make something, whether it's a school choir or this, the team or something, it typically is just because of like circumstances. Like, oh, the roster was already full, or they grabbed kids from this group, but your group was in this thing, right? But when they progress into their teenage years, it really does start to be a marker of your caliber at a skill. So, joining the school choir, there's 100 kids that can sing beautifully, right? And the top kids with that talent are gonna get in. And so, as a teen, I feel like that disappointment is so much more personal. It's kind of some of the first times that it's gone from just, oh yeah, wrong place, wrong time, to no, I actually fell short in some skills here. And so that mourning process might be very emotional, right? It might be very intense compared to how they would just be disappointed when they didn't get something as a youth. So don't let that freak you out, parents, right? We got to just remember, oh, yeah, it is in your teenagehood that you are starting to feel like, wow, my skills and talents and who I am as a person are starting to come through. And it's hard when those don't shuffle out the way that you want them to.
Absolutely. It's such a good point. And I think along with that is you think about your kids in elementary when they have that disappointment and they don't get to be the part they want in the play or whatever. They're usually when we're kids, it's like we're given permission to cry about that or to feel
Hmm.
sad about it. And so then they do, and they actually are able to move forward. But for some reason, what happens is we get older and we are a teen and adult, it's like, okay, now there's no longer this allowance to show emotion or to feel sad about this or to grieve it. And so you'll notice that a lot of times your teen will actually push that in and be like, I'm fine. Right? They're pushing you away, right? They're trying to push that emotion and they're not allowing themselves to grieve. And so I think sometimes just a simple statement to your teen is like, "Oh my gosh, I bet you feel so disappointed about that and are really sad about that. Like that's something that you really wanted." And I know I'm fine. I'm like, oh, and then I would probably as a parent be like, I would have felt really disappointed. And I might even kind of feel like I failed there. And I would just kind of share it as like from my experience because what it does is it gives them that permission to still feel sad about it
Hmm.
and be like, you know what? You might just take some time and like really let yourself grieve about this and feel sad about this. And know that that doesn't mean anything about you that you failed, but it's just normal to feel some emotions with that. So going into number two, I think then it's finding those healthy ways to cope instead of just pushing it down, instead of ignoring it and pretending it's not there. It is, instead of having that teen just go hang out in the room and shut the door and they don't want to talk to you, it's how do you help them cope and move through this? And with teens, it's probably better if it's more of an invitation instead of like, you need to do this, but hey, would you like to go on a walk with me? Which, by the way, is awesome. I've learned so much about walking and how it stimulates our left and right hemisphere of our brain and actually helps us release emotions and trauma. And so be like, hey, do you want to go on a walk? Let's just get out of the house. Let's just go outside. Let's take an evening walk. Or, hey, let's go get ice cream. Or would you like to do something with me? Would you like to hang out with me tonight? I know that you're really grieving some disappointments or some things in your life that didn't go the way you wanted to. And that's hard. And you totally is understandable that you feel that way. But let's go do something together. Let's get out of our bedroom. Let's let's move through this. And so I think finding really healthy ways to cope with that. Another thing I really encourage my clients to do when this happens in their life is to write about it, to like do some journaling about it, of that disappointments and how that feels and how they do kind of feel like a failure, even though they're not. But their brain is making it mean about them. Because if they can get it out on paper, it doesn't get stuck ruminating in their head and become bigger. So get out of the house, go do something with friends, family. You as a mom or dad can really help invite that and encourage that, write about it, but just find some ways to work through that. Or of course, talk to a life coach like Abby and I, right? Shush. Of course,
Always, yes.
of course. Okay. And then I think the last one is just get curious about it. Like, why did that not go the way I wanted? Is there something I could have done different? Is this actually is this redirecting me to something that might actually be better for me? Just get really curious about like, what do I want to do next? Or how am I going to become the victor of this instead of the victim and like continue to live my life? Really get curious at how, invite your team to really get curious about what's next for them so they don't get stuck in it. We need to feel our emotions. We need to allow that space. We need to, obviously find healthy ways to cope. But then we want to say, okay, how can I move forward? What can I learn from this? What did I learn? How is it propelling me forward? What's next for me? And how could this, even though it feels like a door closed, what door is opening for me because that door closed?
Mm. That made me think, Cheree, when I was competing for Miss Utah, and that was my goal. I was like, I will do this, right? Um, I fully intended to just win the pageant my first time ever doing it. And I knew, right? Just like we kind of know facts on paper, but I didn't know it in my heart. I knew that most winners who take home that title of Miss Utah, or even if you're going up higher to like Miss America, on average, they've competed for 4 years at a state level. And so I think it's really helpful as a teen, right, to realize, okay, I didn't make it. And guess what? One of my options is I can try again, right? I can totally do this again because, and people always say this, right? But failure really is the best teacher. And I hate failure as a teacher. I don't want to learn that way, but it is the way that we go, oh my goodness, I see. And I remember. Now we've opened the pageant door of my memories, but I remember after I lost, a pageant and I went and I called up one of the directors of of a different city's pageant that watched me compete. And I said, "Would you have some time to talk to me and give me some feedback?" And I'll never forget, she was so gracious. She's like, "Yes, come to my house. I would love to, you know." And I'll never forget, we sat down and I said, "Okay, I want to hear your honest feedback of my performance because I want to compete again and I really want to know what I can do better." And she looked at me and she said, "Okay, do you want me to give you the feedback that you need to win, or do you want me to just give you feedback um, that will, you know, like of all the things that I saw you do really well?" I said, "No, I want feedback to win." And she's like, "Okay, well, then I just want you to know I'm not being harsh, but I'm going to give you feedback to win, and it's not going to focus on the things you did good." Right. And she did. She went through, she's like, "This dress was trash. This was horrible. This was this, you know." And guess what? I walked out of there because I knew what the game was, right? I knew my plan of like, okay, I was so gutted by this and I want to do better that then I could go on and I could win like another local pageant. And so I think too was your teens like, it's okay if they want to try again. It's okay if they go, "Not for me," right? I'm done. I've tried it once. I'm good. But I just think we need to invite that of going, okay, when you're ready, like, and put that on our teen, right? That's not something you have to decide for them as a parent and just go, you get to decide. Like, I know you'll make an awesome decision, whether that's you want to try again, you want to do a new hobby, you want to do something totally different. Like, I'm really excited to see what you decide.
I love that so much. Such a great story. Oh, I'm impressed at how brave you were to ask for that. I mean, really, that is ideal. That's what we want our teens to do is like not take it personally of like, we want to help you succeed. And so this isn't to criticize you or to hurt you. This is actually to help you. So good. I love it. Well, parents, hopefully this will help you as you help your teen work through some of those disappointments and work through those some of those outcomes in life that just don't quite go as they wanted, and help them become better instead of bitter, and help them become stronger, and redirect them to things that are going to really be beneficial to them. And I always say fail forward in learning and growing and becoming a better version of them. Nothing has gone wrong. So we can't wait to have you join us on the next episode where we're going to talk about your teen when they hate school.
Thank you for listening to Let's Talk Teens with Cheree Murdock and Abbi Winslow. If you are looking for more tips to help your teenager, here's where you can find us. You can find Cheree Murdock on Instagram at Cheree Murdock Coaching, or on her website, ChereeMurdock.com. You can find me, Abbi, on Instagram as Abbi Winslow, or on my website, AbbiWinslow.com. Please rate and review our podcast and share with a fellow parent. Thanks for listening.